and welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you are. I'm Austin Arome, and this is Vision Sport 360 on WTV. We have quite a lot to talk about on the show today from the African Cup of Nations. They just concluded round of 16 games. We take a look. We'll do a preview of the matches that were played yesterday. South Africa, surprise winner in that game between them and Morocco. There was also Mali, who qualified for the quarterfinals for the first time in 11 years. So when you look at the whole situation, we have teams that qualified for the quarterfinals in the 2021 edition. None of them actually got past the round of 16 this time around. We'll take a look at that on the show. We also look at the English Premier League. We also have stories from the camp of the Super Eagles. And then we'll look at the NBA, what's happening in the NBA. Steph Curry and his team, the Golden State Warriors, actually were able to halt that bad run of three successive defeats as they defeated the Philadelphia 76ers with, talking about Joel Embiid, who got injured in that particular game. So a good one for, Steph Curry and Golden State Warriors. There was also a win for the Atlanta Hawks against the LA Lakers. All this and more we'll be talking about on the show, Vision 360. But before we do that, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll go into the detail of the top stories. All right, welcome back to the show. Still Vision Sports 360. We're starting from the African Cup of Nations. We'll go back to some of the games that were played yesterday. The last two games, one between Mali and Burkina Faso, and then the second one between South Africa and Morocco, which actually turned out to be a surprising one, where Morocco being the first team to ever play in the semi-finals. That was last World Cup in 2022 in Qatar, and then coming into the tournament, they were seen as one of the favorites. And then you also have to look at Burkina Faso as well, being among the teams that played in the last quarterfinal, the last edition of the African Cup of Nations. So with that 2-1 defeat of Burkina Faso by Mali, we now have Mali beating Burkina Faso 2-1, and then South Africa as well, causing that upset in that game by 2-0. Let's actually, take a look at that Burkina Faso game. I think the game kicked off in a very fast fashion. The first game came in around the third minute through an own goal by Edmond Soba. That was early in the game. And then 3 minutes into the second half, Mali actually made it through a goal from Lassine Sinayoko. But then in the 57 minutes, Burkina Faso got a lifeline through a penalty that was converted by Traore. Bertrand Traore, who scored a penalty, but then that was just about it. Nothing actually happened after that. It was just, Mali trying to protect their lead, and Burkina Faso, looking for a way to score. But then Mali, in a way, sort of, caged the Burkinabe side to just limited chances, and that was just about it. But one thing you can't take away from this Malian side, everybody is talking about the big teams. You look at before the tournament, Morocco, Senegal, the top two favorites coming into the tournament, and then Nigeria, the third favorite. You look at the way it stands now, Morocco are out, Senegal is also out, Nigeria now according to prediction before the African Cup of Nations, is the likely favorite. But then, according to the coach of the Super Eagles, we'll come into that later, they'll prefer to remain as underdog. They don't want to be given that tag of favorite. So Mali, for me, is one of those teams that can spring surprises. Nobody's talking about them at the moment, but then I'm sure that by the time they play against their next opponent, which is against Ivory Coast, and people will get, start seeing what I've seen in this Malian team, because I know that the Ivorians are going to be in for a surprise against the Malian side. And also, let's move on, switch gears to that game between South Africa and Morocco, which I would say is one of the surprise results as far as the round of 16 is concerned. You look at how the Moroccan side, a star-studded side, the likes of Yassine Bonu, likes of Hakimi, Stefan, the likes of Amrabat, a star-studded team, coupled with the fact that, they had a good run at the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup. They went all the way to the semi-finals, the first African team to actually do that at the World Cup. Coming into this game, coming into the championship, they've been seen as the favorite. Even the games that they played, at the group stage, they played so well, qualifying, I think, with 7 points. They won 2 games, and, they draw one of their group games. So coming into the quarterfinals, you expect them to beat, South African side, because for me, and for a lot of people, South Africa have overachieved, because they've gone beyond where everybody expects them to go. Looking at the way they came in, without pedigree. I think the last time South Africa were in this position, I can't really remember. Maybe probably in the year 2000 or thereabout. So it's actually quite surprising that a local coach, a local South African coach, Foreman, he's the one behind the success that South Africa have achieved this particular tournament. And not to underrate them, they're also a very, very dangerous side. The way they play, the way they press, and how they transition from defense to attack. I think this is one of the most dangerous teams in the tournament. So having said that, let's look at the teams that have qualified for the quarterfinals of the African Cup of Nations. We have Ivory Coast, we have Mali, we have Nigeria, we have Cape Verde, we have Guinea, we have Angola, South Africa, and Congo. That's the last 8 as far as the African Cup of Nations is concerned. You can see on the screen there features for the quarterfinal matches. We have on Friday, Nigeria will be the first to kickstart the first round of the quarterfinal games. Nigeria will take on Angola. DR Congo will take on Guinea. We have Mali will be playing on Saturday, February, against Ivory Coast, the host nation, and then Cape Verde will take on South Africa. So that's the feature for the quarterfinals. And one thing I would like to stress on, talk about the fact that this year's African Cup of Nations is actually quite unpredictable. Something that we say, keep you on the edge of your seat, considering the way teams are playing. We often say that, there are no longer minnows in the African football, as far as African football is concerned. When you look at what happened in 2021, I think in Cameroon, all the teams that played in the quarterfinals of the Cameroon's African Cup of Nations, that was in 2021, they are not in the quarterfinals of the 2023 edition. You can actually tell you the difference. You can see the difference in what we are talking about. You talk about consistency, teams that are always there, semifinals, quarterfinals. Most of these teams are not in this round. Let's take a look at the teams that were at the 2021 quarterfinals, African Cup of Nations. We have Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, Gambia, Senegal, Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, and Burkina Faso. All these teams are not in this year's quarterfinal. It tells you how African football is evolving, where African football is going at the moment. Because you look at all over the world, you can see that football is changing. You see the kind of result you see upsets here and there, and this is the kind of thing that make football interesting. You enjoy that giant killing story, that underdog story. You're always rooting for the underdog, unless probably it's your country that is playing against the underdog. Like maybe I'm a Nigerian, and I have to support my own country whenever they are playing against the underdog. But as a neutral, when you're watching football as a neutral, you always like to go for the underdog. And the African Cup of Nations 2023 so far is a story that has been taken over by the underdog. So we'll have to go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll have to go back, and this time around we'll take you to the camp of the Super Eagles. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
I want you go pass to Osime go fire am. Lookman no dey fear anyone. In the defense score anywhere. Pass if you defend anything. You see us all, you go keep anything.
All right, from the camp of the Super Eagles right there, you could see goalkeeper Nwabali right there in goal. Stanley Nwabali actually, being given drills as far as training is concerned. Just to give you updates, as far as the injury to Nwabali is concerned, he might be available for that game against Angola, just to actually clear your doubts as to whether he's going to be available or not. The news is that he has to undergo a kind of test, a last-minute check before that game against Angola, and if you can actually pass that test, and probably we might see Nwabali in goal. But you can see right there in goal, it's already resumed training. That's to tell you that there's improvement. But then at the end of the day, that test has to be carried out, and to see if he's going to be actually fit, physically fit for that game against Angola, just to allay your fears, because a lot of people are scared. They don't want Uzor to be in goal, because so far so good. Stanley Nwabali has shown that he's a dependable goalkeeper, and losing Stanley Nwabali at this crucial moment is something that a lot of Nigerians don't even want to think about. So update coming right there is that there is hope that Stanley Nwabali is going to be in goal for that game against Angola. Also, talking about the Super Eagles game, he's looking forward to that game against Angola. He said that game is going to be a very difficult one, but then he believes that the Super Eagles has enough firepower to finish that game in Ivory Coast. Angola and Nigeria will be battling it out for a place in the semi-finals, the last four of the competition, and it's going to be on a Friday, 2nd of February, and we're all looking forward to that. Looking at how Angola has performed in this tournament, they're one of those front teams. They performed really well, even better than the Super Eagles in the group stage. Won 2 games, drawn. I think they drew one of those games, and they scored more goals than the Super Eagles. So it's actually a game of two styles, so to say. A team that is defensively strong in the Super Eagles, and a team that actually know how to score goals. A team that you can see is mobile. Some people are actually saying that the Super Eagles have not actually had a real test, that this match against Angola is going to serve as a real test for the Super Eagles, and the coach is feeling confident that his boys can actually do the job. And also, Ademola Lookman re-echoing his coach's opinion, also said that he's confident that the Super Eagles will get past the Palanca Negras, that's the Angola national team, ahead of the quarterfinal games. And this game, for me, it's going to be a tough one. That's according to Ademola Lookman. Angola, who's played 4 games and they've won 3 of their 4 games at the African Cup of Nations so far. And Lookman said they are going to be very, very difficult, but then he believes that the Super Eagles will conquer at the end of the day. So moving on, still talking football, but this time around a different dimension. We're moving to the English Premier League, where we're gradually getting to the business end of it. You look at Manchester City beginning to crawl back into the title race, 5 points behind Liverpool, and Arsenal as well, who played yesterday. They are now 2 points behind Liverpool. Well, before we talk about that, let's give you results from yesterday's matches, where we have Arsenal beating Nottingham Forest by 2-1. We have Fulham beating playing a goalless draw against Everton. We have Luton against Luton beating Brighton by 4-0. We have Crystal Palace also. Eberechi Eze was on the score sheet and defeated Sheffield United by 2-1. Aston Villa lost at home for the first time since last season. This season they've not even lost a game. You look at how they played in as far as this season is concerned. From a possible 30 points before this particular game against Newcastle, they scored. They've been able to secure 28 points, which means they just dropped a point. There was a draw. They played in 1 match at home this season. So this defeat for Aston Villa against Newcastle at the Villa Stadium is the first defeat that they'll be testing this season. And for Newcastle, they are getting stronger and stronger as the season progresses. You can see that the players are beginning to come back. Gordon is beginning to play so well for them, and we only say that the sky is the limit for Newcastle United. And for Luton Town, yesterday I think is the day I'll say they cannot forget. Adebayo, Elijah Adebayo, scoring a hat-trick. I think his first hat-trick in the English Premier League. With that, Luton Town have actually sneaked out of the relegation zone. They are now 17th, not so far from that relegation line, so to say. They are still in that relegation battle, but then respite for them for the very first time this season. Luton Town actually are out of the relegation zone, and by that it means that Everton are now in the bottom 3, despite the fact that they were able to overcome that 10-point deduction. Played so well, came out of the bottom 3, and right now they are back in the bottom 3 again. They have to work their way out as far as the Premier League is concerned. Let's look at today's fixtures. This is where we have the key battles in the sense that the teams that will be playing today are talking about Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester City, Liverpool. They are all in that run for the title. Tottenham Hotspur not so far behind, but they are still behind as far as the title race is concerned. Liverpool in first place, 48 points. I think they have 5 points above Manchester City, who have a game in hand. And a win for Manchester City against Burnley tonight means that Manchester City will eventually close the gap. That is, if Liverpool fail to win against Chelsea. So we'll be looking forward to that game tonight, and probably when we come back on Friday, we'll be talking about the results of these games. And for now, we'll take a short break on the show, and when we come back, we'll look at what we can do with the rest of the time that we have on the show. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. right, welcome back. I think we have a little time right here on the show, and the little time that we have, we're going to use it for the transfer window. What's happening in the transfer window? The transfer window, as a matter of fact, this January transfer window is one of the most quiet transfer window I've ever witnessed. I think the Premier League in the last transfer window spent a total of 815 million as far as the January transfer is concerned. Now, fast forward 12 months later, we've not even entered. No club, and no, the total of the spending put together is not up to 100 million. But then we still can, take away the fact that some players are moving and some players will be looking to move tonight before the end of the transfer window. And one of those players, we have, PSG looking at the possibility of signing Marcus Rashford before the transfer window closes. Also, Tottenham Hotspur will be looking to solve their striking problem. We have Son Heung-min, at the Asian Cup. We also have Harry Kane moving over the summer. So I think at this particular point in time, it is safe to say that Tottenham Hotspur are in a crisis, a striker crisis. So they are looking to see if they can sign Dominic Solanke before the window closes. Also, Tottenham Hotspur has also put in a late bid to see if they can sign Chelsea midfielder Conor Gallagher, and also Fulham also looking at another Chelsea player, Armando Broja, if they can actually close the deal. And then they said, according to reports, Fulham are yet to meet that valuation Chelsea have put on the player. I think it's a £50 million valuation, and will Fulham be able to pay that? I don't know how possible is that. We'll see if that can actually materialize. Wolverhampton Wanderers are also interested in the players. We also have it on good authority that Aston Villa have agreed a £16 million deal for Middlesbrough under 21 English winger Morgan Rogers. Also looking at another transfer. This one, I don't know how possible is it, or how is going to be, whether it's going to be true or not. But then the rumor is ongoing that Liverpool are interested in signing Fulham Nigerian English defender Tosin Adarabiayo in the summer, not right now, in the summer. So they are looking at signing Adarabiayo in the summer. Is that going to be possible? Only time can tell. So this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of Vision Sports 360. I'm Austin Arome. I want to thank all of you, our viewers, for joining in. Also to thank the production crew for doing a very good job behind the scene. And on behalf of all of us here, we say thank you for watching and bye for now.